One aspect of the civilized cultural creation that we inhabit and nurture is the field of emotional agreements about the meaning each emotion has for us collectively, as well as a system of expressions to indicate our emotional dispositions. We've worked out what's acceptable to express, what's expected, and what it means when we step out of bounds of expectation. Right? So, you know, certain things are not acceptable to express, and that there are consequences for expressing it. We're stepping out of the bounds of we've agreed. Keep it in here, okay? Don't go there or there. Right? You understand what I'm talking about, yes? Don't shit on my shoes. That's not acceptable. And if you do, I'll hit you in the head with a stick. There are also many ritualized forms of interaction. Have a nice day. How do you feel? Fine. And all sorts of things. That are designed to keep our relating moving along smoothly and safely. In order to be consistent with that, we need to know and abide within these inventions. This doesn't mean we can't view the whole emotional domain as invented and serving a purpose, thus being open to more possibilities in its use, nor does it mean we can't reinvent aspects of it that are, if inappropriate, and create something more appropriate and useful, or drop the use of emotion in any given case. See, I'm just saying, if there are agreements in civilization, a culture, a social group, and there always are. That's what creates a civilization, social group, etc. It's built on agreements. It's built on certain values, assumptions, and agreements that the people share. And if those agreements are, occurring, and then certain inventions are created that we share, like living inside, language, not knowing is bad, stuff like that. See, we share. You don't have to get any of it as real. And you don't have to do any aspect. But if you're going to interact in that civilization, you have to know the rules of the civilization. Otherwise, you can't interact in that civilization. See? So you have to know what the agreements are, basically. And that if you break them, see, if I kill you, I'm put in jail. There are consequences. If I say certain things, and you'll probably leave me or be upset or whatever, saying there are consequences to it, etc. See, and then, what are the values? And you know that. That's why if you're in a different culture, you may not know some of the agreements and inventions of that culture, and you can get in trouble for it. Now, if it's a, forgiving culture, or a more globally intelligent culture, or accepting culture, they know, oh, you're just an American or whatever, and so you don't understand. So they give you some space on that. But not always. Some cultures don't. See? And so, like I said, for example, in France, you have to say bonjour. Otherwise, you're not, they don't like that. See? They think you're rude. You're being rude. All those things you go through. Have a nice day, it's good, stuff, right? Just the superficial stuff. You got to know. In Thailand, you see, this is very rude. Very rude. Okay? You don't do that. See, but if you don't know that, you might put your feet up. Say, okay, now, what are we on the business scale? You might be upset by that. Etc. See, so that's a little agreement. And those are, relatively minor stuff. There are more kind of really basic human stuff that almost every culture shares. You know? Very few cultures are cannibals. You know, that's an agreement that's pretty much died out. You know, with small segments. The Mayans and some of the Pacific Islands, things like that. See, they're cannibals. And now it's relegated to just sick people. So anybody, a cannibal is a sick person. They're mentally ill. See, but there are whole cultures that are doing that, you know. And the culture wasn't mentally ill; it was just their belief system. That's what they did. You know, etc. Killing is bad. You know. My point is that in the interaction, you have to relate to the distinctions made by that culture.
Well, I don't have to.
Right, you can not interact. But if you're going to interact,
and have it work out well.
Yeah, have it work out at all.
I mean,
Otherwise, they just shoot you as a feral creature.
Right.
So,
some of those agreements are shared all across, like we use language together or something.
Sure.
Like I'm here, you're there. Or
sure.
We're both people.
Yes, what it is to be a person. We have emotions. They're important. We think, and et cetera, all these things. But we have agreements between each other. You don't hit me, I won't hit you,
Yeah.
etc. If I do hit you, I know this is considered bad, and then a bad thing, or whatever. What the agreements are. A lot of them are very subtle and overlooked.
Right.
A lot of them are obvious. See, we don't notice the obvious. We kind of overlook the obvious. You know, but if you take yourself out of that altogether, then you don't interact.